prompts a man to suddenly depart his homeland and traverse hundreds of miles within just 2 days? Is his behavior merely a result of paranoia, or is there a darker threat looming ahead? Today, we will be doing our case on Dennis Blair Adams. This case is particularly interesting to me because you travel hundreds of miles away from your home country just to end up deceased in a random city. These are the events leading up to his unexpected demise. Robert Dennis Blair Adams, born December 28, 1964, a resident of Surrey, British Columbia, withdrew large amounts of money from his bank account and cleared out his safe deposit box of cash, jewelry, gold, and platinum. However, gaining access to America would prove difficult. He attempted to reach America by ferry from Victoria, British Columbia to Seattle, Washington. However, immigration officials deemed Blair a potential drug dealer due to the large amounts of money he was carrying. He was also found to have convictions on drug and assault charges and ultimately was denied entry. But that did not stop him one bit. 4 days later, on July 9th, Blair was obtained by Canada Border Patrol officers attempting to cross the border on foot at the Pacific Highway border crossing. The officers took note of the noticeable scratches that Adams had on his arms and legs. What made the situation 10 times worse is that he matched the description of a suspect involved in a carjacking. Adams denied any involvement and was released due to insignificant evidence. Now let's just ponder for a second. Blair must have truly been scared of something or someone. Clearing out your life savings within seconds speaks volumes. Also, to have noticeable bruises on your arms and legs may indicate that he was in an altercation, and maybe someone was truly following him after all. Let's get back into it. Finally, on July 10th, Adams was able to make his way into the States by car. He rented a Nissan Altima from Vancouver International Airport. He finally reached Seattle, Washington, where he proceeded to purchase a round-trip ticket to Frankfurt, Germany, at the Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. It's important to note that Adams previously worked construction for his stepfather and developed a romantic relationship with a woman in Frankfurt. However, Adams never contacted his love interest and made plans to visit. With a sudden change of heart, Adams decided to trade in his roundabout ticket to Frankfurt for a one-way ticket to Washington, D.C. Once arriving in Washington, D.C., Adams rented a Toyota Camry at Dulles Airport around 6:45 a.m. Later in the morning, while driving on the U.S. Route 250 in Troy, Virginia, Adams accidentally backed his car into another driver's vehicle, causing minor damage at the most. Apparently, Adams was very remorseful about the situation, but also seemed to be in a rush. Later that day, after hours of driving, Adams arrived in East Knox County, Tennessee, between Knoxville and Strawberry Plains, about 500 miles from southwest Washington, D.C. The first recorded sighting of Adams in Knoxville occurred at a BP gas station at Strawberry Plains Pike at 5:30 p.m. Gerald Sapp, an interstate repair service driver, was called to the gas station. Adams informed the clerk that he was having difficulty with his car key and was unable to enter the vehicle. Once Sapp arrived, he automatically knew that the key Adams was trying to use was made for a Nissan Altima, not a Toyota. The key more than likely belonged to the Nissan Altima that he abandoned in Seattle, Washington. Sapp recalled, and I quote, "I asked him to look in his pockets. I said, if you drove this thing up here, you gotta have another key in your pockets. And he wouldn't look, so I thought he was nuts. He was bound and determined that he had the key he needed for that car." After the awkward exchange, Sapp had the car towed to a local repair shop and proceeded to drop Adams off at the Fairfield Inn. This motel was located in Knoxville on Cracker Barrel Lane. Upon his arrival to the hotel, Adams was caught on CCTV loitering in the hotel lobby for at least 40 minutes. before leaving abruptly and coming back at least 5 times to the establishment before buying a hotel room. He spent $100 for a room that he never checked into. When the clerk attempted to give Adams his change, he left abruptly to never be seen again. An employee at the hotel, Tika Hartsville, stated, and I quote, "The best way to describe him will be paranoid. He just was very nervous, agitated, expecting someone to come in on him, even though there wasn't anybody there. I don't know who he was looking for, but he was waiting for somebody to walk in for him." To say the least, Adams' movements were very weird leading up to his death. His erratic behavior might have played a big part in what happened to him. Now let's just take a second and reflect on what we just read. Maybe Blair was trying to throw someone off his scent. You book a ticket to Germany, then you do a complete 360 and book a ticket to Washington, D.C.? What would be the point in doing that unless this person might have been close to you and they know your every move? Also, the car situation was a little off to me. You had Nissan Altima keys while driving a Toyota Camry? Does this indicate maybe the Toyota was stolen and not rented? Let's get back into it. The discovery of his body. Literally a day after entering the United States, Adams' body was discovered on July 11th, 1996 at approximately 7:13 a.m. by construction workers. His body was located at a parking lot of an under construction Country Inn and Suites hotel at 7471 Crosswood Boulevard, which was on the other side of the Strawberry Plains Pike Interstate 40 interchange across from the Fairfield Inn, where Adams had booked a room. Adams was found half naked with his shirt open and his pants off his person. His shoes, socks, and pants were located next to his body, along with $4,000 in cash. It's important to note that the cash was in Canadian, German, and U.S. currency. The police also found a black duffel bag which contained maps and receipts. He also had a fanny pack which held small amounts of a gold bar, jewelry, and a pair of sunglasses. Autopsy report. The autopsy was conducted by the University of Tennessee Medical Center. Cuts and scratches were found on Adams' body. The Knox County Sheriff's Department has speculated some of his wounds came from fending off an attack, but that was not confirmed on the autopsy report. Adams also experienced a forceful impact that caused a rupture in his stomach. The official reason for his death was determined to be sepsis caused by a perforation in his abdomen. The police concluded that his wound on his forehead was inflicted by either a crowbar or a club. Other wounds suggested that Adams had been the victim of a sexual assault. Investigation. Law enforcement initially suggested that Adams' death may have been related to a sexual encounter, as he was found almost completely naked. The only physical DNA evidence found at the scene was a single strand of long hair grasped in Adams' hand. The police contacted Gerald Sapp, the interstate repair service driver, the following morning to inform him of Adams' death, after which they brought him in for questioning and collected hair samples. Sapp also provided a statement expressing, and I quote, "The guy was not all there. He didn't appear to be messed up. He didn't appear to be on drugs, but his mind wasn't functioning correctly for some reason." This experience caused Sapp, who was in his 40s at the time, to resign from his job. His mother, Sandra Edwards Blair, explained in later interviews that Adams had been behaving strangely in the weeks leading up to his departure from Canada, but he had refused to share what was troubling him. She stated, and I quote, "Something was obviously very much the matter. He hadn't been sleeping well. Something was wrong. I asked him numerous times what was wrong, and he said, 'I don't think I should tell you about it.' And to this day, I don't know what it is." According to friends and family, Adams had been clean from substance abuse for 2 years at the time of his death, and had recently stopped attending Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. He also expressed to his friends that he believed someone was trying to harm him and confided in his mother that someone was spreading rumors about him. During a 2010 interview with local police, it was disclosed that the Knoxville Police Department had not received any reliable information about Adams' death. Despite this, a composite sketch of a man was shared in connection with the case. The sketch depicted an unidentified man that two women reported seeing Adams talking to outside of a Cracker Barrel restaurant near the Fairfield Inn where he was staying. Also, it was reported that a security guard from a nearby establishment informed detectives that he heard a sudden scream around 3:30 a.m., which he thought was a woman's voice. Contradicting statements. In a 2017 news article, the reporter stated that Edwards described her son as kind and ambitious, expressing her belief that he did not experience mental health issues in the weeks leading up to his death. She mentioned that Adams had previously been in a romantic relationship with a male roommate. She stated, and I quote, "They acted a little strangely and giggled a lot, and it was kind of odd. But then he went back to a heterosexual relationship after that." She stated that Adams went to the South to attend the 1996 Summer Olympic Games in Atlanta, details that were never shared with law enforcement. The games commenced on July 19th, just 8 days after Adams' body was found over 200 miles away in Knox County. Edwards did not clarify how she learned about her son's whereabouts, how he ended up in Knoxville, or the reason for not informing the police. That was the whole point of his trip, Edwards said before hanging up the phone. Other calls to the Edwards residence were picked up by her husband, who became enraged, called chances of solving the case remote as hell, and said, "We're not going to open that can of worms again." Adams' love interest from Germany informed detectives that Adams was a gentleman, while others, such as a colleague he had worked with in Germany, described him as abrasive and confrontational, someone who sometimes got into fights. Despite expressing concerns for his safety to multiple individuals, Adams made it clear to his German girlfriend and at least one other friend that he was particularly worried about potential violence from former coworkers who had just come back from Germany. I thought this part was very important to include because you see the inconsistency in statements. You can see how confused his mother was during this process. And on top of that, you can really tell how his love interest classified him as this amazing guy, but his co-workers described him as an agitator that wants to fight. So you can just see how everyone involved in this case was everywhere. Let's get back into it. Conclusion. In my opinion, Adams' behavior suggests that he may have been fleeing from someone. His erratic actions indicate to me that he may have been dissatisfied with his life for some reason. By examining key points in the story, it seems clear that his mother had already hinted at his disillusionment with life before leaving Canada. Additionally, his impulsive decision to travel from America to Germany, then changing his plans to go to DC, and eventually ending up in Knoxville, suggests to me that he may have been trying to throw someone off of his trail. What is even more concerning is that he purchased a hotel room but never actually checked in. Why would he spend 40 minutes in the hotel lobby just to leave? Knox County Sheriff Jimmy J.J. Jones stated, and I quote, "It was the most interesting and the strangest case in my entire 38-year career so far." Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Stay safe.